Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. In today's video we're going to take a look and review the rules for the Stormcast Eternals Vigilant Brotherhood Spearhead in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Today's video is sponsored by Gap Games, a fantastic miniature wargaming store in Queensland, Australia. They stock a wide variety of miniature wargames from all things Games Workshop to some of my personal favourites, Conquest of the Last Argument of Kings, and all things Modifius wargames as well. Use our affiliate code in the link below to help support both this fantastic store and the channel as well. Our formation today has a general be our Lord Vigilant on Gryphstalker. For units we have 1 Lord Veritant, 3 Prosecutors and 5 Liberators. Battle traits wise, we have the Holy Orders, and during the battle we can use the following abilities we have on this page once per game each. Shield of Azir, as mentioned, once per battle. During your hero phase you can use this. To declare, you need to pick a friendly unit, and the effect is until the start of your next turn the unit will have a 5+ ward. This can give a unit some really good extra defense. Storm Charge is our other once per battle one, and this can be used during your charge phase. To declare it, you pick a friendly unit that is not in combat. And for the effect, this unit can use charge abilities this turn even if they've already used a run ability, giving you some extra movement to a Stormcast force that is otherwise a little bit slow. Regiment Abilities are next, and we can pick one of the following 2 Regiment Abilities. Strike where needed. This is once per battle, a reaction you can use, and it's declared when you use a retreat ability. Used by the unit using the retreat ability that's been declared, and the effect is no mortal damage is inflicted on the unit using the retreat ability. Pretty nice, especially for your low wound Stormcast. In addition, that unit can still charge as well with any charge abilities this turn, even though it used a retreated ability. Really good because, once again, Stormcast generally have less models, less units, so getting them into the fight where you need them is incredibly important. Blaze of Glory is the alternate option, and once per battle during any combat phase you can pick a friendly unit that is in combat. The effect is until the end of that phase, each time a model in that unit is slain you make a vengeance roll of a d6, and on a 4+, 1 mortal damage is inflicted on an enemy unit in combat with your unit. This is pretty solid. It gives you some extra damage, especially when you maybe are hit with something a little bit hard. For me though, I really do like the ability to strike where needed. I think it is the better of the 2, giving you extra maneuverability. Enhancements are next, and like all spearheads we can give our general one of the following 4 enhancements. The first one is Hallowed Scrolls. This is a passive ability, and the effect is pretty simple. Your general gets a ward of 5+. Really nice for just keeping your general alive and making him quite survivable with a 3+ armor save, then a 5+ ward. Mortar's Talon is next, a passive, and this gives your general's Hallowed Great Axe the crit mortal special rule. Pretty cool for pumping out some extra damage. Quicksilver Draft is a once per battle use item, and you can be used during any combat phase. The effect is it gives your general strikes first during the phase you use it. Once again, just allowing you to get that damage through. Pretty good if you maybe are facing some bigger heavy hitting foes. And then Null Pendant, once per battle again, this can be used at the end of any turn, and you declare it, you roll a dice for each enemy unit contesting the same objective as your general. On a 2+, you subtract the roll from the control score of that enemy unit this turn. Now, I do like this one. The fact that it is requiring a 2+ to roll and potentially does nothing is, a risk. It is one of my favorites, but I do think probably either Hallowed Scrolls or Mortar's Talon, passive effects that just make your general either more killy or more survivable, are the way to go. Our first unit is our general, and this is the Lord Vigilant on Gryphstalker. Pretty solid with 8 health, a 12-inch move, 3+ save, and a control score of 2. In combat, the model has 2 different attack profiles it'll use. It's Hallowed Great Axe with 5 attacks at 3s to hit and wound, with Rend 2, damage 2, and no additional abilities. Though, remembering we could potentially take Mortar's Talon to give him crit mortal here, which would suggest we probably get 1 mortal damage on average, slightly less. We then have the Gryphstalker's Beak and Talons, 3 attacks, 4s and 3s to hit and wound with Rend 1 and damage 2 again, and the companion ability, this just meaning that a lot of abilities we have won't trigger on this as well, as that's generally what companion will stop us having. Now we do have two abilities. The first of all be Delivered Judgment. Once per battle, any combat phase, you declare it to pick a friendly non-hero unit within 12 inch of this unit to be the target. And the effect is that unit can use to fight ability this phase, though after they use their first one, they'll gain the strike last rule for the rest of the phase, meaning effectively they get to fight once in your normal sort of order, and then they get to fight at the end of the phase as well. Playing the attack is our other one. This is a hero phase ability. You declare it, you pick an objective you don't control, and for the rest of the turn you add one to hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly units that target an enemy unit contesting that objective. Generally, what I would be doing is sort of combining these two abilities together to ensure, you've picked an objective, then picked a unit near that objective to get the most out of all the buffs you're going to be able to stack onto them. Our next character is the Lord Vigilant. This model has 6 health, a 5-inch move, pretty standard for human Stormcast models, save of 3+, and a control score of 2. In combat, it has 2 different melee weapons it uses, the Staff of Abjuration, which is a 1-attack weapon, 3s and 3s to hit and wound, with rend 1 and damage 3, and then it's Judgment Blade, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, again to hit and wound, like all Stormcast generally, 1 rend and damage D3. You have an ability called Sense Unholy Sorcery, and this is a passive ability. The effect of this is the unit's Griff Crow is a token for it, essentially. The unit will have a 5+ ward save while the Griff Crow is on the battlefield. However, if you ever make an unmodified ward roll of 1, you remove the Griff Crow from the battlefield and essentially lose your ward save. Cleansing Fires is nice. This is a hero phase ability. You declare, you pick a visible enemy unit within 12 inch of the target, and then you make a chanting roll of D6. The effect of this is on a 3+, you roll a dice for each mortal in the target unit, and for each 5+, then you inflict 1 mortal damage on that target unit. There is a lot of dice rolling involved to get this off, but this is essentially a prayer, and this is how they sort of work. Quite a bit of extra damage, good at clearing out hordes potentially. It'd be certainly where I send him. I think he's a fairly solid little, utility piece to have. Our first of our 2 actual units in the force are the Prosecutors. Now we get 3 of these in our unit of them for the force, and they have 2 health each, a 12-inch move, 3+ save, and a control score of 1. They're actually the only unit that brings a true ranged attack to the force. Obviously we have the prayer from our Lord Vigilant, but these guys actually have, a normal ranged attack. The 10-inch range, 1 attack each, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage D3. Now, in combat, they use these same weapons, the Stormcaller Javelins again, as they sort of float back to their hands. They're made of lightning, which is pretty cool. 3 attacks each, 3s and 3s to hit wound, rend 1, damage 1. So, while the damage does drop, they also get more attacks, so they roughly put out the same damage at range or in combat. Now they do have 2 abilities, the first of these being the Skirmisher's passive ability, and this just increases their coherency range to 2 inch. Mostly important because they are quite broad models, they stick out from their bases, and this just stops you having to place them sideways to keep them in coherency. Heralds of Righteousness, though, is an ability that affects them, a passive ability, and it means when you roll a charge ability for them, they actually get to roll an additional dice. So 3d6 charges, average about 12 or 13 on them, is pretty solid. Keywords wise, there is a couple that matter here. Firstly, they have the fly keywords, this means they can ignore vertical movement, and the reinforcements keyword as well, meaning they potentially can come back from dead. The last unit in our force are our Liberators, and we get 5 of these models in the force. They have 2 health each, a 5-inch move, 3+ save, and a control score of 1. Now, when we have these 5 models, 4 of them are armed with Warhammers, and 1 of them is armed with a Grand Hammer, essentially a 2-handed hammer. Now, both these weapons are going to have similar profiles with 2 attacks each, 3s to hit and wound, and rend 1. The big difference here is the regular Warhammers are 1 damage, while the Grand Hammer is 2 damage. Both of these have the crit mortal ability as well, meaning anytime they roll a 6 to hit, they'll do a mortal damage and the attack sequence will end. They do have a ability which actually increases their control score. Stalwart Defenders, a passive ability, add 3 to this unit's control score while it contests an objective wholly within friendly territory. Great for sort of holding your own ground. Keywords wise, they have the reinforcements keyword as well, so really cool for potentially coming back after they've been destroyed and keeping you in the fight, especially, since they are good at holding those home objectives, they can really help sort of push forward. But we hope this video was helpful in giving you some ideas and our thoughts on Warhammer Age of Sigmar Spearhead, and that you were able to get some inspiration to start your own force in the game with it. If you have any other questions at all, please comment down below, and while you're there, also don't forget to drop a like, subscribe and join our Discord server to check out all our future Warhammer Age of Sigmar content.